advisor on the State Department's Israeli-Palestinian negotiating team. Laura, thanks for coming back to be with us. I just want to get your thought on what we just reported on there. The Israeli defense minister saying that there would be a camp essentially for all Gazans to go into. This, as we've seen, real struggles and incredible scenes of Palestinians rushing to aid sites. I mean, what do you make of this?
It goes to the heart of the matter and why this is so difficult and complicated to reach resolution. When Hamas says we want a permanent ceasefire, what they're really asking of Netanyahu and what President Trump is asking for him as well is a day after plan for Gaza. Who will govern Gaza? Who will provide the basic needs? What will Gaza look like? And Netanyahu has stuck to a position of no Hamas and no Abbas, meaning no Palestinian Authority. And there's a struggle behind the scenes diplomatically. What Trump has been floating as an idea is that Egypt and Saudi Arabia and UAE, perhaps with the help of Jordan, will come in and help govern the territory and provide those basic needs to the desperate Palestinians. There are 2 million people who've been living in a tiny little war zone for over 20 months. Israel would like that, and the countries have basically said, no, we want the Palestinian Authority to rule themselves, that Palestinians should provide self-governance. So it's a very relevant question, and I imagine, what's on the menu tonight at the White House? It's going to be, grilled chicken and chilled peaches and permanent ceasefire, and that's going to be really hard to digest.
Okay, and I should just add that we are seeing from reporters that the Prime Minister does appear now to be at the White House, that he left the Blair House, the guest house where he was staying and holding meetings earlier today, around 15 minutes ago, and went to the Eisenhower Executive Office building to the South Portico. So we didn't see the Prime Minister arriving, but he is apparently now here for his dinner with President Trump, as you said there, Laura. How do you see Prime Minister Netanyahu's position here? On the one hand, ending the war in Gaza is something that his right-wing coalition has said they do not support, will not support. So that could mean the collapse of his coalition government. On the other hand, not accepting a ceasefire agreement could anger the Trump administration.
Absolutely, and well put. I mean, he's really torn between his domestic partners in his cabinet in Israel and his chief foreign partner, President Trump, who's the only real partner who matters at this point. He gives him the weapons and the diplomatic cover and everything else, even the legitimacy. President Trump has higher poll numbers than Netanyahu does in Israel. He's a more popular figure than the prime minister himself. So Netanyahu is quite vulnerable. And, he understands that there's going to be an election within the next year. That's the way Israeli politics work. He needs some wins because that defeat of Iran, as he's calling it, the dramatic and bold strikes, military strikes that Israel dealt to Iran, has not erased the stain of October 7th. That moment when Prime Minister Netanyahu, who was known, his reputation was Mr. Security, peace through strength, delivered war through weakness, through the massacre of Israelis on his watch. He has to deliver something, whether it be, the hostages, a ceasefire deal in Gaza, which would unlock, hopefully, in his words and Trump's words, further normalization deals, whether it be with Syria, Saudi Arabia, or beyond. So there's a lot to talk about tonight. And I think that, the question is, where's Witkoff? Witkoff is on his way to the region, to Doha. I'm optimistic because if you follow him, you probably follow, some progress. Don't forget that he's not only very close to the Israelis, but he's also done business deals before he went into government. Witkoff was known for his business deals with the Qataris, and they're, at this point, the chief point of leverage over Hamas. So the pieces are lining up in a way. I know I've told you this before, that I'm optimistic, but today I'm all caps optimistic.
Okay, Laura, great to have your analysis again. Thank you so much for joining us.